You know, it's the odd time that the Vancouver Canucks are playing a game before the Montreal Canadiens on a day, but it happens once in a while, right? So we made the Vancouver video earlier, now we're going to be talking about the Canadiens, and of course, before we dive into all of that, we have to go over the same note that we had talked about in this morning's Tony D'Angelo video. Emil Heineman got hit by a car the other day, and he's going to be out for a while. His agent said on a statement that it wasn't that serious, but of course, the guy got hit with a freaking car. Like, that is serious. Obviously, we are wishing the best, most speediest recovery possible for Emil Heineman. Speedy, but not sacrificing the actual, effectiveness of the recovery. Newhook and Pezzetta are going to be in today as Emil Heineman is taken out. This also is the second vehicular-related incident that an NHL player has had in the past few days, with Michael Bunting also getting into a car accident earlier this week. So, guys, we gotta stay safe on the streets. Cars and automobiles, they are no joke. They are big, hunking, chunking masses of metal that can definitely do some damage to the human body if they are going anywhere at any velocity. So, of course, we wish for the best for Bunting, who I believe was taking line rushes earlier today, so we'll see if he actually does end up playing, but for him and for Emil Heineman, who will be out for much longer than that. Anyways, let's get into today's topic. So I wanted to respond to an article that was published on HabsFanatics.com, and the reason this article is interesting to me is because it dives into a specific idea that I don't necessarily think is, fully correct, but the argument does exist, which is why I wanted to bring this up here. The link will be in the description, of course, as well. The link to our ExpressVPN affiliate page will be linked as well. If you need a VPN, go out there and use Express. You can get some free months by using our affiliate link, and it helps the channel out too. But this article was published on HabsFanatics.com by Elias Adem. Patrik Laine unintentionally hurt the Montreal Canadiens, and there could be some serious repercussions. Yeah, so that's a very clickbaity title. It takes one to know one when it comes to clickbait. But what I wanted to do was talk about this tweet posted by Stu Cowan from 2 days ago. The Montreal Canadiens are 2 points out of a second wildcard playoff spot in the Eastern Conference after last night's 2-1 shootout loss to the Dallas Stars. And you can see that the two teams that are on top of Montreal in this screenshot in the wildcard are the Boston Bruins and the Columbus Blue Jackets. Here's the thing. The article opens up by talking about how the Habs are currently playing some very strong hockey. They've earned 10 points in their last 12 games. Looking at this stretch, it's striking to see that the two regulation losses were against teams that are at the bottom of the standings at the time, the Blue Jackets and the Chicago Blackhawks. I say at the time because on December 23rd, the date of the game between the Habs and the Jackets, Dean Evason's team was in 5th place in the Metro, coming off of a 10-game stretch with a record of 3-4-3. Since then, though, the Ohio team seems to have regained its form and is now in the thick of the playoff race, battling none other than Montreal. The article talks about, essentially, how Columbus has started to get on a little bit of a heater. And it all started on December 23rd when CBJ defeated the Montreal Canadiens 5-4. Since then, the Blue Jackets ended up defeating the Boston Bruins 6-2. They lost to the Bruins 4-0 later, but then they beat the Hurricanes, lost to the Red Wings, beat the Blues, beat the Pens, beat the Kraken, and then they beat the Blues again. The Columbus Blue Jackets, ever since December 23rd, have started to string together some pretty good results, and they're on a 4-game win streak. All of this is being argued in the article to have been started by Patrik Laine, because that particular game wherein the Blue Jackets started to accrue a whole bunch of points was the game where Columbus all banded together against one Patrik Laine. The article goes over the quotes, where Laine talked about how the Blue Jackets have a culture of losing, and how he doesn't like that, it's frustrating, etc., etc., and how Laine didn't even finish that same game. He was injured by the numerous hits he had taken. The article talks about how the Blue Jackets have since been on a heater. They're 7-1 in their last 10 games, which roughly corresponds to the December 23rd game. And so the article says, like, because the Blue Jackets are battling for a wildcard spot with Montreal, was Patrik Laine, in a way, inadvertently responsible for this battle going on? I'm going to say that maybe it's a little bit of both, but I don't think it's fully fair to blame an entire team's success on a guy on another team, right? Like, it just so happens that the Blue Jackets played well enough to beat the Montreal Canadiens in a game where they were amped up, psyched up to go up against Patrik Laine, who would talk smack about them earlier in that morning. Obviously, with Zach Werenski and the comments that he had made, he had spoken out about how disappointing and frustrating it was to hear these comments from Laine. Hey, we were nothing but good teammates to this guy. We were nothing but friends with this guy. For him to say that, it's BS. And it definitely did play a part in the emotional energy for this Blue Jackets team in that game, and I guess it's carried on, right? Like, the Blue Jackets have been on such a heater, guys have been scoring points, even with Sean Monahan out. Adam Fantilli has stepped in there, he's been doing pretty well. Voronkov, Marchenko have been some of the best underrated fantasy pickups all year. I had them on the waiver wire and free agency on multiple of my leagues. They have been studs. And some of these defensemen are also showing off well too. Dante Fabro started to get involved. Ivan Provorov's still there. There's a lot of guys that have been really stepping it up as of late in Columbus, and a lot of that roughly seems to correspond with the ever so infamous Patrik Laine revenge game, I guess you could say. I mean, I'm honestly really happy to see the Blue Jackets doing as well as they have been. It's very clear that they've had a lot more direction as of late, even with some of the departures on their team. As we had said, Monahan is out. Igor Chinakhov has been out for an extended amount of time now. And with all the new faces, all the guys taking the extra step, who would have thought Voronkov would have been as productive as he is? Who would have thought Marchenko could have filled in as a legit first-line winger? I mean, obviously, from last year to this year, the Blue Jackets had quite a bit of talent leave the organization, but to see some of these other younger dudes step in and fill those shoes, it's definitely a good sign. And now, as the wildcard race continues to entertain eyes and make us pay attention to the out-of-town scoreboard a little bit more, Columbus is right in there, and Montreal's battling for it too. Both of these teams have been on a heater, and I want you to let me know your thoughts in the comments section below, whether or not you feel Patrik Laine's involvement in the matter really was a catalyst for the success we are seeing in Columbus. Would they have already been destined to having a run like this, even without the Patrik Laine comments? Without the Laine comments, do the Blue Jackets not find a way to beat Montreal in that game back in December? Somebody called a Marvel team because we gotta get a what-if on this situation, shouldn't we? Let me know your thoughts in the comments section below. The articles can be linked in the description. I hope you enjoyed this video. And bye.